How are you? I hope you're well today. And I hope you're doing fine wherever you're in the world. I know it could be morning, it could be afternoon, it could be evening. I'm here with my fellow authors. My name is Stella Oni. I'm a crime fiction author. And I introduce Barbara Howard and I introduce Carolyn Wilkins. We're here to talk about Anthology Festive Mayhem. Not only just about our short stories in that anthology, but we're talking about our author journey, how we came to be where we are today talking to you. So without further ado, because what we're going to do is that we're going to take it in turns to talk. So I'm going to throw it to Barbara to say a little bit about herself as an author. Go with it, Barbara.
Hi, thank you, Stella. Hi, everybody. My name is Barbara Howard. I am a not so cozy mystery author. I'm based in Cleveland, Ohio. I have a novella series out called Finding Home. You can find it everywhere online. And I'm excited to my very first short story to be in this anthology of Festive Mayhem 2, where I got to meet some awesome authors like these two ladies here. And we're having a great time promoting it and meeting all of you. So thank you so much. And I'll pass it now to Carolyn Marie Wilkins.
Hi, everybody. Yes, it is an honor to be here. I am hearing like 3 different streams of talking. So I think I have to shut down my Facebook thing. Yes, I got to get rid of this. Yes, I'm totally confused.
So Carolyn, the best way is to look at the Instagram, look at your phone, because that's what
I know that the looking is fine. It's the listening. For some reason, I'm hearing 2 different streams. So what about now?
I can hear you clearly.
Yeah, but now
we can hear you.
We can hear you. So Carolyn,
I think, hold on, I cannot be both on Facebook at participating in the Facebook and with the Zoom, because what's happening is I'm hearing the audio from the Facebook at coming after, so everything I just said. Anyway, welcome to the wonderful world of technology. I'm Carolyn Wilkins. I'm honored to be here with Stella and Barbara. It's going to be an awesome hour of talking about our books and our writing process and wonderful festive mayhem. I can't wait to get started, so I'm going to throw it over to Stella.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Stella Oni and I'm a crime fiction author. I'm a British Nigerian based in the UK. Barbara and Carolyn are actually based in the US. So we have two different times. I think it's 2 different, Eastern time and UK time. I think we're on GMT now. We just changed our time zone last week. So anyway, I'm a crime fiction author. I've been writing all my life, but I got into crime fiction many years back, and I haven't looked back on that after starting. My debut crime fiction was published in 2020 by Jacaranda Books. It's a police procedural based in the UK and Nigeria. Now, how did I get from writing police procedural to writing a cozy mystery? Just ask me that question. Okay. Picture this scenario. It was 2020, right in the height of the pandemic, and we, the 3 of us, are part of Crime Writers of Color, a fantastic platform that was co-founded by Kelly Garrett, Gigi Pandian, authors Garrett, Gigi Pandian, and Walter Mosley. So I joined this fantastic group, and we had a subgroup, which is a kind of indie subgroup aspect, and someone floated the idea of writing a short story, writing an anthology and calling it Festive Mayhem for Christmas. So anyway, that happened. We published Festive Mayhem last year, and my short story, which is the cozy mystery, the idea came. I wanted to write something happy, not grim. We were in a time of grim. It was all grim. All how we were last year, girls. So anyway, that's how it started. So Festive Mayhem came out last year, the limited edition. Festive Mayhem 2 came out this year, and I still have my same nosy housekeeper kind of what do they call it, a character in there. But the beauty of Festive Mayhem 2 is the recipes. No? Fantastic stories, short stories, 7 authors, beautiful stories, and the recipes. I can't wait to start those recipes, So anyway, we're going to say a bit more about a little more about ourselves. Barbara, do you want to say something a bit more about your author journey?
Sure. Thank you so much. I too am a part of the Crime Writers of Color, and as Stella said, an awesome group of individual authors who are amazing. And this is my first time being part of this anthology, but my journey started way back in my childhood when we were asked to, in grade school, we were asked to write a story about, I can't remember the exact prompt, but it was a very simple prompt because we were only in the 3rd grade, which is like 8 years old. And my story had a gardener being killed by a geranium plant. So of course, that made my teacher wonder what was going on at home, that I would come up with a story like that. But I really enjoyed Ellery Queen and Alfred Hitchcock and Edgar Allan Poe and things like that had a lot of mood and tone and suspense. And so whenever I wrote an essay or a story, that's how it came out of my mind onto the paper. So from there, my mother introduced me to creative writing courses, and then I went off to college and took a totally different turn into technology. But in 2020, well, actually before 2020, I wrote a little children's book. But in 2020, I kept encouraging people. I was just encouraging people, whatever your dream is, get out there and do it. Do your dream, be you, be strong, blah, 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 blah. And one day I was thinking, you know what? That applies to me too. If you're going to do it, now's the time to do it. And I had a story that had been floating around in my mind. That's why I call myself a not so cozy mystery author, because I like that the stories are not gritty and grimy. I like that there's not a lot of gore and blood and things like that. But at the same time, I want my characters to have some depth and some issues. So my main character has anxiety. She has panic attacks. She's dealing with a past of foster care and homelessness and gentrification. So I wanted to include some things that I felt were relevant to the times, but at the same time, I wanted to keep it kind of in that PG tone of cozy mystery. So that's where Finding Home came from. And my short story in the anthology is a spinoff. So in book 3 of my series, we leave off with a next generation coming up, a young man who was, how can I put it? He was impacted by the death of the person in the series, and now we find him. He's come of his own. He started his own business, and he's got a young lady that he wants to marry. And so this is a nice place to, and it's actually a culinary mystery anthology, and it fit perfectly because this young man is a caterer. So when the opportunity came up to do a short story for the anthology, I was like, this is right on time. I can bring in Milo and Jules as a sweet little couple, and also, of course, bring in a dead body because it's a mystery. And so there has to be something going on. And I was so happy to bring back my characters from the series into the short. And now someone asked, well, now that, because of the ending of the short stories, like, well, now you have to continue this because now we want to know what happens next. So we'll see what happens after that in my journey. But right now I'm kind of contemplating doing another 2 stories based on this short and putting that in a little collection and see what happens with that. So that's my journey. I'm hoping that next year I'll have at least 2 more stories out there for everyone to enjoy. And we'll see what happens in 2021. So I will now pass it to Carolyn.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it's always so fun to hear everybody's journey and everybody's story. There's always something really unique about each writer. And of course, that uniqueness is what we then bring forward into our stories. So I always, like probably everybody on this call, I always love mysteries. I love reading them. I loved watching the movies, all that kind of thing of the Ellery Queen and the Agatha Christie, etc. But my journey propelled me into music. I come from a family of musicians, and I pursued a lifelong career of music. And it was only later, after I was asked to write a music textbook, and I realized I had so much fun writing the textbook, but the thing that I really enjoyed were the little anecdotes that I was putting in there. And I was like, wow, a textbook is kind of boring, but these stories are fun. So from there, I wrote 2 memoirs, which are about my family and combining the story of my family, which is another whole conversation, but quite profound combination of African-American history and personal memoir. Those, I wrote 2 books, one for the men in my family and one for the women in my family. And when I had finished those, I truly felt that I never wanted to talk about myself again. I was done. So from that place, I said, okay, let's write fiction. And I had always loved murder mysteries, as everyone here. So let's go ahead and write a mystery. So the first 2 mysteries that I wrote was a series featuring Bertie Bigelow, who was a music teacher, kind of like myself, working on the south side of Chicago at a community college. And her students tended to have problems and issues and drama. And just like Barbara mentioned, I wanted it to be real world things, but I also wanted to keep it within the cozy universe, meaning very little, if any, blood. The bad guy is caught, those kinds of things, because we have enough sorrow and tragedy and real world in your face right now. I felt like we wanted this to be justice is served. So I wrote 2 books like that. And then I decided I wanted to start a new series, which would feature a new protagonist who, like me, is a psychic medium. I'm also a psychic medium and a healer. And I wanted to reflect the African-American tradition of that, of psychic work and of healing. And so I set my story in Evansville, Indiana, thinly disguised as Aaronsville, Indiana in my story, in 1921, where in fact, my real life ancestors actually did live at that time. And it turns out that Evansville was a pretty crazy, wide open place with gambling, flagrant racism run by the Ku Klux Klan, but also a very thriving and determined Black community that fought against odds. And there were also spiritualists, and there were also all these kind of psychic elements. So I wanted to combine all of that into a rather juicy stew. And I wrote a book called Death at a Seance, which features my main character, Carrie McFarlane. This short story, which I have been thrilled to be able to include in our wonderful anthology by the Crime Writers of Color, features my teenage psychic, Carrie McFarlane, now a couple of years older. She's 18, and she has been a little bit disappointed in love quite a few times. But in this story, she meets a handsome and rather mysterious chef from New Orleans who has arrived on a showboat up the river. And the showboat is actually performing this very racist production based on Birth of a Nation, the famously racist movie. So there's all these elements featured in, and that is the basis of my story, about which I will talk later. But for now, let me pass the baton to our amazing host, Stella.
Thank you so much. That was awesome, Carolyn. I really, to be candid, I can't wait to read your memoir. I'm going to ask you some questions about, and actually Barbara as well, about your stories in the Festive Mayhem, but I'll talk a little bit more about myself now. So I was born in the UK and grew up in Nigeria, and I'm now settled in the UK. So I kind of like have these two perspectives going on in my head. So I was a reader. I was obsessed with reading when I was young. So that's one of the things that a lot of people that know me from back when I was, in secondary school, primary schools, friends, I still hold on to friends. I grip on my friends. I never let go of all my friends. So way back then, people knew me as obsessed with reading. But I don't know whether it was a culture back then. I never thought about writing. I didn't think I could write, because the writers in those days, when Nigerian writers were the giants, like Wole Soyinka, Chinua Achebe, all those big names. So I didn't connect my reading to the love of wanting to write, because there was nobody around me writing. So I kind of like kept on with my reading, then came to settle in the UK, and kind of like in my mid-20s, I suddenly just thought, I'd actually like to write. I would like to write. And it sounded so way out, so outlandish, that when I told my friends, they're like, wow, anyway, you're always an odd one anyway. So if you say you want to write, then go on and write. So I gave myself a kind of 5-year plan and decided I would, try it. I would write this great literary fiction, because it was literary fiction that was out there in those days. Anyway, I did write my book, gave myself a 5-year plan. Did I try to get published? I tried to get published. Oh, did I try? No joy. African fiction was not in fashion any longer. That was what I was being told. Terrible, right? This was a story set in its time. I'm not saying it was a great story, but I just even didn't have the chance. And there were not many people like me who were coming forward and writing in those. Now there are a lot of people now. I won't say we're many, but I'm just saying that there's more than it was in those days. So anyway, I dropped this great manuscript because I gave myself a 5-year plan and said, okay, I've given myself enough chance to try and get published. I could not get published. And so I'm going to go and do a master's degree. And I decided to go far away from writing and go into IT. So I studied IT because I thought, oh yeah, let me make a load of money. I was poor for so many years trying to publish this great book that I want to make a bit of money. So I studied IT, got married, had children, and I didn't write for 10 years. 10 years. And Carolyn and Barbara, as writers, a writer not writing is like someone saying you can't drink. You just feel this hunger in you to express yourself. And I kind of like, I would scribble. I have masses and masses of notebooks, diaries, because I could not help writing. So anyway, 10 years later, I decided to give it a try again, but I said, no more literary fiction. I'm going to try and write crime fiction. So I looked around again and said, okay, who is writing crime fiction around me? I'm based in the UK, I'm based in London. Nobody. I looked around, everybody, people were writing literary fiction. There was no one that looked like me that was writing crime fiction. we're talking about, because it took me another 15 years to get published, 15 years. So 15 years ago, there was no one like me. Lots of well-respected white authors that I loved, you know, and I looked up to, but there was no one like me writing crime fiction. So I had to start from base one. I decided to go for a course. An 8-week, it was about an 8-week course in crime writing. I didn't know anything about writing crime. I knew everything about reading. I read everything you can think of, Ellery Queen, Agatha Christie, every kind of working crime fiction author out there. I'm sure I've read even horror. I used to read horror as well. So, but I had to learn to write crime fiction. And MFA, a lot of people, you know, went back to go and do an MFA. I decided I didn't want to have another master's degree. So I said I would teach myself. I wish I'd done the MFA anyway. But anyway, that's how I got into writing crime fiction. And I got published by a great publishing company, Jacaranda. They're based in the UK. They were brave enough to decide to publish 20 black crime, not black crime writers, 20 authors, 20 black authors, and I was one of them. So that's how I got published last year. My book, Deadly Sacrifice, is far away from from the London House mystery, from the Jollof Rice and Crayfish mystery. So I got into cozy crime fiction, as I said in my intro, where this discussion came out last year, and that's how I got into it. My police procedural, unlike what Carolyn said, it's actually really gritty, and it was based on a real life, not based, but loosely inspired by real life theme events that happened in 2001, I think, 2001. A young black African boy's torso was found in River Thames, and his killers were never found. Now, I didn't write about him, but the story was inspired by him, and it was quite upsetting, very, very upsetting. So Deadly Sacrifice is very, very gritty. It's, for me, I found it very interesting to read, but yes, it is really gritty. So, you know, because it covers quite a lot of themes there. On the other hand, my short stories are happy. I've got a nosy housekeeper who is very Nigerian. She's a housekeeper in this posh guest house in Knightsbridge. She just meets all sorts of characters, and so I've written the manuscript, I'm working on the manuscript, but the Jollof Rice and Crayfish mystery is Elizabeth. Her name is Elizabeth. She loves to cook. And of course, Festive Mayhem 2 is all about culinary mysteries. You love the stories. So I'm going to go back to Barbara now. Because Barbara said a little bit about Milo, who is her character in this book. But I like the way she depicted Milo, and I don't want to do any spoilers. I like the mystery behind it, and I had to go back and say, Barbara, is there any more coming? I'm very happy that Barbara was able to say that there's more coming from there, because a young man just getting into catering and making a business, making it into a business, it's I know there's a lot of young men doing catering out there, but it was just kind of unusual for me to read in a cozy mystery, and I loved it, and I wanted to know more about that. So, Barbara, you said there's more coming, from Milo. Are you going to do more short stories around him?
I think so. The funny thing is, thank you for that, Stella. When I wrote the very first book of the series, Final Harvest, Milo was just one of the background singers in the band. He wasn't a major character, but he was the part of the inciting incident that started the whole mystery. Mm-hmm. And when I got done with that and I put it out there, and I was working on book 2, people were asking me, well, what happened to Milo? Mm-hmm. And I was like, really? This is what stuck with everyone, because he was 14 years old and he was homeless at the time, and it had a big impact. The death of this person had a big impact on his life. and everyone wanted to know what happened to him. So each time I wrote a story, the second one, I gave him a few more pages. And then in the third one, I made the title of it is Milo's Journey, because I wanted to fill in some more about who he was turning out to be, a little bit more about his background. There is a major reveal about, because he didn't know his parents. So there's a major reveal of who he's related to and all of that. And again, no spoilers, but it seemed that people were really captivated with what was going to happen to this young man. And I did not, as you were saying, Stella, it's important to be, representation is important. And I wanted to make sure that since I have an opportunity to put this character in front of people, that I treated it with respect. I wanted his life to be treated with respect. I didn't want him to be some thug kid out in the street getting in trouble with a lot of situations. I wanted it to be, this is the hand that he was dealt, and this is his best way of dealing with it. And this is the support system around him. So of course it's a mystery. There are crimes, there's death, there's a little bit of mayhem to keep the action going. But through his character arc, I wanted to make sure that I showed his growth. So when we get to the short story in Festive Mayhem, again, people are like, so now what happens to Milo? You know, so even with this short, it was because of the ending of this short story. They said, well, of course, now you have to show us the next chapter of his life. And so he's kind of turned out to be this breakout, important person, just because I guess people just relate to him some way. They're finding some way to relate to him as a character. My main character is actually Tracy Simmons, who is a young woman I was talking about. And she is really this hurricane of activity, because the way she handles situations is she has a serious fight or flight. She immediately goes into a panic in her mind, and she has to rein herself in and deal. But she's definitely like, I'm going to fight for my family. I'm going to fight for my people. I'm going to make sure that nothing happens to them. So her grit and determination to protect those that she loves is something that people relate to as well. So I always bring Tracy in. But Milo seems to be just everyone's little sweetheart, and they want to see what happens. And so at the end of A Cup of Secrets, which is my story in the anthology, at the end of A Cup of Secrets, he's about to embark on another chapter in his life. And now people are like, well, now, you know, turn the page. Now we have to see, you know, so I'm glad that he's being embraced. I think that we have a lot of images out there of young Black men that this is a counterweight to that, I think. And without being syrupy sweet, he's got a background, he's got some situations that he's dealing with, and he's dealing with bigotry in a different way. He's dealing with opposition within the Black community as well as outside of the Black community. And so, you know, these are real issues that I can address in a cozy mystery without beating people over the head with it, you know. But this is a real, you know, I believe is a well-rounded character, even though he was not initially the main character. So yes, there's going to be more, apparently, just like I wasn't planning the first time out. But yes, there's going to be more on Milo and Jules coming up. So I'm excited about that, and I'm really pleased that he's kind of turning out to be this breakout star in the series and in the short story. And I do have, this is random, but I do have a collection of cookbooks out there that are based on my family recipes under a different name, under a different pen name.
You have to share that. You got to share it.
Okay.
I love cookery books. I love.
They're
yeah.
They're out there under Arlene Lee, Arlene, last name Lee. And there are all these old recipes that have been collected from my family for years and years and years. So I don't have a lot of pictures. They're not pretty cookbooks. But you know what's funny, Stella? what sells out like crazy through Amazon in the UK is the wild game pheasants recipes every year. Every year, whenever October, November timeframe hits, all of a sudden the sales for this wild game cookbook just goes through the roof. And they're short, they're small, like 10, 12 recipes in them. But then there are others with cakes and different desserts and whatnot. But I'm just mentioning that because when this came out to be, when I had to do something with Milo in his life, he was working in a restaurant as, of course, I don't want to give away a lot of it, but in the book 3, it turned out that the person who took him on as his guardian owned a restaurant. And so that's where he kind of got stuck in the kitchen, learning how to cook and whatnot. And that became his path. And, you know, people wanted him to go to college and this, that, and the other, but this was his path. So this is the path that he chose for himself. So I think that's another reason why people like him as a character, is because he didn't go the direction that people were pushing him in. He didn't go back into the streets where it was dangerous. He decided, this was what works for me. I'm going to follow this path. And so in this short story, they get to see where it actually is paying off for him, or starting to pay off for him. So so that's where the recipe came from for the pink kisses. That's where that came from an old family recipe.
Exciting. See, when we talk about ourselves, it's interesting that, you know, things come out. And I didn't know that Barbara has this lovely book of recipes and Carolyn has a memoir. That is just exciting. That is just exciting. Before we go to Carolyn, I just want to do something, and I hope actually we're working through with 3 devices here. I'll say 3 devices. I've got my laptop, we've got Zoom going, we've got the Facebook Live, we've got Instagram. So if you see my eyes darting, I'm not ignoring you. My Instagram is up here and my Zoom is down here on Facebook Live. But I'm going to try and attempt to show you what Festive Mayhem 2 looks like. So if I do it like this, I don't know, it's reflecting a bit. So I don't know. Let me try with, can you see it? I don't know. Can you see it? Yeah, I'm putting it on Instagram. Just it kind of like it's look. I don't know if it's mirror image, if it's an mirror image, but that's what Festive Mayhem 2 looks like. Okay, yeah, I can see it now. I'm moving it. So it's really lovely. It's popping, as you can see. You can get it from any platform, any of the platforms. It's out there, and you can see that we are all kind of like gone into cooking in a way, you know. So because I actually love to cook as well. So yeah, I think Barbara is trying to show it, but it's a bit. There's light behind the Barbara, so I can't see very well.
Yeah,
yeah, there's light, you know. But yeah. Well, it's called Festive Mayhem 2. So go have a look. So Carolyn, take it away, girl.
Oh, well, thank you. This has been so fun to be listening to everyone and how you came to your journey. And there's so much I could say, but I think if it's all right, what I'm going to do is go right to my story. And I'm going to talk a little bit about setting up the background for the story and then reading a tiny little chunk of it, because I think probably that is, in my case, the best argument for wanting to read more is getting to read a little bit. So setting the setting, it's Evansville, Indiana, which is a pretty wild and woolly river town. It's right on the border of Indiana. If you cross the Ohio River, you are in Kentucky, which was part of the old Confederacy. You have the segregation, you have all that. So a lot of those same mentalities, and it is a fact that in 1921, the Ku Klux Klan controlled the entire state of Indiana. They elected the governor, they had mayors, they had congressmen. They were enormously popular. And for those who don't know, the Ku Klux Klan is a racist organization avowedly racist opposed to Black people, immigrants, anyone of a different religion. It's basically white Protestant only, and everybody else get out. So in 1921, my main character is Carrie McFarland. As I say, she's a psychic, but she's kind of an apprentice psychic. She's not like a master by any means. She's still a young girl. She's 18. She's studying with this old woman whose name is Sister Marie, who is in fact a master of hoodoo, the African-American kind of blend of herbalism, psychicism, and hexing. She's quite a powerful woman, and Carrie is sort of her apprentice. So Carrie is out walking, and she comes across this demonstration with people screaming and yelling at the pier in front of this showboat, which, as I've said, is advertising this racist play. And the African-American people of the town, which is called Aaronsville in my book, are waving signs and protesting, but they are soon chased off by the owner of the boat, who is kind of a real mean guy named Captain LaPierre. So Carrie bumps into this incredibly handsome and mysterious man with a charming French accent and a parrot on his shoulder. Well, she has never seen anything like it. They strike up a conversation, and he says that he would like to meet someone to help him do some magical work for him because he's in trouble. So Carrie takes him to the home of her mentor, Sister Marie, and that's where my story begins. Or it doesn't begin, but that's where we're going to begin. Sister Marie showed no surprise either at Matisse's exotic appearance, that's his name, Matisse, which is already cool, or that of his parrot when we arrived at her home 20 minutes later. "You look like you need some hoodoo work done," she said calmly. "Oui, madame," Matisse said. As he spoke, the parrot flew to the top of Sister Marie's herb cabinet and made himself at home. "Carrie says you make the best protection gris-gris in Aaronsville, and I need the best, what with the jam I'm in." Sister Marie invited us to sit at the kitchen table, then settled herself in an ancient wooden rocker across from us. "Tell me about it," she said. "It's my boss, Captain LaPierre," Matisse said. "The man is going mad, absolument fou. He thinks someone is trying to kill him. Some days he accuses Miss Sanford, the lead actress in the show. Other days it's his wife, Marguerite. He's even accused his business agent, Mr. Phoebe." Matisse sighed and shook his head. "None of this was really my problem, but now the captain has begun accusing me. He threw out the perfectly good gumbo I prepared for dinner last night, insisted I poisoned it. Can't you get another job? I asked. Matisse looked down at the table, his long fingers twisting in his lap. No, mademoiselle. I've been working on this showboat all summer. I get paid tomorrow night after the last show. If I quit before then, I'll never see my money. Sister Marie studied Matisse in silence for a minute. There's a black cloud around your boss, she said slowly. A reckoning he cannot escape. You should quit, money or no money. From his perch atop Sister Marie's herb cabinet, Pepe, the parrot, agreed. Trouble, trouble, he squawked in his high-pitched voice. Run for the hills. The old woman pushed herself up from her rocking chair, picked up her cane, and hobbled to the cabinet next to the kitchen sink. "But I know you're not going to follow my advice," she said. "So I'll make you some protection oil." And thus it begins. He's in a jam. There's hexing, there's hoodoos. Eventually there's murder. There's a parrot. There's great New Orleans food. And that is sort of the gumbo of my story. And now over to Stella.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. That was a lovely taster and an incredible background. I wish we had more time. I would have wanted to ask you more questions around the 1920s because I found it incredibly fascinating, but we'll take that offline. So let me just, because time is kind of like racing ahead. So I'm going to just give you a quick intro into the background of my character, and I'll do some reading. So Barbara, I think, will do the last reading. So I came up with the concept of my character, like I said, in the pandemic. It was last year. I wanted somebody that was happy, that was quite African, that loved to cook, but I wanted her to be in a kind of opposite to a simple woman. I won't say it's not, I call it number one ladies detective meets crazy rich Asians. So not a lot of people like number one ladies detective, but I've met people who say, oh, we don't like it. I absolutely enjoyed reading it. And so Elizabeth, her name is Elizabeth. She's a housekeeper. She came from a kind of abusive background, but that came from the manuscript that I'm working on at the moment. And she walked away, almost like she decided that in this, when I say abusive background, a marriage, and she decided that she had had enough of this, of what had been happening to her for the past 30 years, and she didn't want it anymore. And she walked out. She met her husband in a compromising situation, and that's the background to that. And she walked away to try and start a new life. And there's a journey to that, to her getting from where she was and where she became a housekeeper to this high concept guest house set in Knightsbridge with Harrods as a backdrop. This is a kind of like, super wealthy place with celebrities, wealthy people coming from all over the world. So people coming from Nigeria, people coming from the States, from the Arabic world, all sorts coming into this guest house with all sorts of modcons from there. So that's where Elizabeth is set. And like I said, the kind of person she is, she's quite, I call it quirky. She's quite, it's a world. It's a world seen through the eyes of Elizabeth and nobody else. Well, there's different points of view, but Elizabeth's point of view is quite quirky. And the London House Mystery Series is about Elizabeth, and it's also about the owner of this guest house, who is a mysterious and not corrupt, because I know that when you think about Nigeria, a lot of people think about Nigeria as a corrupt nation with corrupt politicians or corrupt people. And yes, you're quite rightly, there's a lot of issues in Nigeria when it comes to corruption. But the other side of that is honest people making a living, who have an industry going on, who have made a lot of money from tech and from industries, from different aspects. And I wanted to feature that we have people like that, and I wanted to feature somebody like that who owned a piece of real estate in Knightsbridge, this huge guest house, and Elizabeth. So think about it, it's almost like a kind of opposite attraction thing going on here in terms of the dynamics that will go on. And throw that in for the Festive Mayhem one, I threw in the a British agent. So there's a British agent in there as well. So we have a British agent, we have Elizabeth, simple woman with all her whatever was going on with her background, and we have the billionaire and so many other characters. So as I said, time is running. So I'm not going to say too much about it. I'm just going to do a kind of quick 3-minute read so that I can throw it to Barbara, because we want to have enough time for you to ask questions. Not everybody is online, but whoever is there, if you want to ask questions, we want to give you a few minutes to be able to ask your questions. So I'm just going to read an excerpt of, it's called the Jollof Rice and Crayfish Mystery. And it was Elizabeth welcoming this chief, who is a very wealthy chief, and his family, who came to celebrate his birthday in this guest house. And something happened, but this is just an excerpt to it. So she is welcoming the guests now. So Elizabeth opened, let me try and move my iPad so I'm not looking too far away from you. So Elizabeth opened the large double doors of the Villa Palazzo to reveal its massive crystal chandeliers, high ceiling, and white and gold decor. A huge Christmas tree festooned with twinkling gold lights stood in a corner, and the scent of fresh flowers in large Egyptian and crystal vases filled the place. "This is beautiful," said Mommy Gold. "I trust Alaji to look after us, Chief." So Mommy Gold is the guest and Chief is her husband, and Alaji is the billionaire owner of the Muse guest house. So that's what it's called. Chief, who had said little since they came, nodded as his eyes roved over Elizabeth. "This man likes women," he thought. Elizabeth signaled for the house staff to bring in the endless designer suitcases that these rich people carry. It was always that of Mr. Louis Vuitton. Mommy Gold went to open the personalized gift hamper on a large glass dining table in the corner and exclaimed with pleasure, "My favorite perfume and soap. How do you people know?" Elizabeth smiled. It was thanks to their high-end suppliers. Chief walked to one of a set of broad leather chairs and sat down. He was wearing a white cotton traditional suit with black custom-made suede shoes. He brought out a sleek black phone, tapped on it, and chatted away. "When do you want to eat, madame?" Elizabeth asked Mommy Gold, who had also brought out a jewel-encrusted phone. "We have prepared the dining room for your dinner." The woman waved her hand and tinkled. "Did they not tell you people? We will dine outside here tonight, but tomorrow for sure we will eat here after Chief has done his shopping in Harrods." Elizabeth realized Mommy Gold was glaring at Chief, who was still talking on the phone. That was when she realized he was talking to a woman. I'm going to stop here. Thank you very much. And I'm going to throw it to Barbara now to say something. Thank you.
Stella, I love the dynamics of the women in this story. I'm like, oh, Mommy Gold, I would love to see her in person. She's got to be amazing in person. You know, like you just see someone walk in the room and they're glowing because they have so much jewelry on. Oh my gosh, the affluence, right? And Carolyn, my family's from Ohio and the Ohio Valley and West Virginia and all of that. So that's, yeah. So I won't take us down that rabbit hole, but my story, again, it's a spinoff from my series, and the background on this is I've been talking about Milo again. He is now the young lady that he met in the third book of the series was her parents wanted her to go off to college. They had selected this college for her, and she had gone through the steps to get in, and he was just so enamored with her, and he was, you know, this down and out kid, and she was from an affluent family in the community. It's a small community, but in a lot of small communities, then your last name means everything. So if you're of this family or of that family, you have a certain status. And the young men in that community, if they're like Milo, they're considered like street scum, basically. And he is in love with this young lady, and they graduated high school, and she's, you know, on her way to the school, and he decided, no, I don't want you to go. That, you know, stay here and be with me. And so that was a major step for her to go against her parents' wishes and stay behind and go find a college that she could go through online or whatever to stay behind in this small town. So that being said, he's still trying to prove himself to her parents, particularly her father, that he can hold his own, that he can step up in society, so to speak, and that she is worthy, that he's worthy of their daughter. And so here's this young man now with his catering business, and he's landed this gig, this debutante's actually born on Christmas Day, and they're going to have her birthday party at Christmas Eve night into the, you know, Christmas morning. And he landed that particular gig, right? So he had been doing all of the stuff out in the community, doing all the tailgating and birthday parties and this and that and the other. And he finally got this big break, right? So this is Milo and Jules at the Parkers, the name of the family. They've set up for the party, and here we go. Let's see, where's a good place for me to start this? Here. The last year had been a grind with very little money and even less sleep. The hard work had paid off when Milo had landed the most sought after holiday party in the county. The budget was through the roof, no limits. This one event would cover his operating expenses through the next quarter and prove to Mr. Lattimore that he was worthy of Jules. Her parents were still skeptical, and the relationship had suffered from it. He could provide a good future for her with his catering business. It would just take time. Working for the Parkers had put him on the map with a whole new affluent clientele. No more backyard barbecues and swim parties. Requests were already coming in, and the evening had not started yet. He stared at the list, double-checking every detail, and totally missed Chelsea Parker's presence next to him. So, here's my birthday present, she said, and slipped her arms around his shoulders, then traced her fingers up and down his arms, smiling mischievously at him. Oh, wow. Milo blinked and took a quick breath. I didn't see you come in. Happy birthday, Chelsea. It's going to be the best party you've ever had. You promise? She licked her lips and tightened her grip. Her golden blonde hair was pulled into a high ponytail. She wore twinkling candy cane earrings and a hunter green bodysuit. If naughty Santa's elf was the look she was going for, she had nailed it. He is not your present, Chelsea. Jules walked over and pried her fingers away. I think you should touch up your makeup, by the way. Chelsea patted her face where her mascara had run in jagged lines down her cheeks and smiled. I suppose you're right. Thanks, hon. She looked Milo up and down, then walked down the hall to the master suite. Milo turned to Jules and shrugged. He hoped the two women would avoid each other during the party as much as possible. I really don't like her, you know. She thinks she can have everything and everyone. Jules folded her arms and watched Chelsea close the bedroom door. Don't worry, I won't say anything to her right now, but she'll learn to keep her hands off you after tonight. Forget about it, Milo said. He couldn't let the tension escalate between those two. He put his hands on her waist and lowered his head to make direct eye contact. She's probably drunk. Besides, after tonight, I think you and me need to talk about us being permanent, you know, forever. I'm going to leave it there.
Awesome. Awesome. It's like I should go back. I'm going to go back and read the stories again because I absolutely loved the stories. I love the candy. Look at candy cane earrings, you know, so you can see the detail. I think we've got a few people on, and I don't know if anybody has questions for us. So, but I'm really happy to have been here with Barbara And with Carolyn, it's been an awesome journey, culminating in what we are here to do, what we've done today. And I hope that we'll do more like this for the future. But has anybody got any questions for us? Do you want to ask us anything? We're here before we leave. We've got a few minutes for questions.
I just will say that Marla is on Facebook, the amazing Marla, who also has a story in the book and who also has our commander-in-chief when it comes to getting the book together and getting it out.
Hi,
She's
Marla.
absolutely amazing. And so I just want to give her a shout out. Marla, thank you for coming and thank you for supporting us. Awesome.
Yeah. Seriously, Marla, I can't wait to see. Here I am now. This is an interesting one. I don't want to deviate from it. I'm still looking out for questions if you have any questions. But I just want to kind of like say a little bit about, how coming together with this, I call them my family, crime writers of color. Came across crime writers of color last year. I was so excited. You will not believe how excited I was. Based in the UK, Black female writer, we have the Crime Writers Association. We've got other associations going on. I wanted a kind of connection, and I didn't meet that connection when I started with crime writing. So getting into a crime writers of color family was the best thing that ever happened to me. And coming in contact with Marla, and this is not physical. We've not met. I can't wait to meet everybody. I'm hoping that I'll come for conferences next year and I'll meet people in person. It's just incredible. Marla is unique. She's just hardworking. I've never seen anybody work so hard in my life. She sets a standard, a very high standard. And I'm just, thank you so much, Marla, for putting together Festive Mayhem 1 and doing the same for Festive Mayhem 2. You've done an incredible job for us. Thank you so much.
She's even asked
Marla.
a question. She's even asked a question in addition to everything else. So her question is, how difficult was it for us to come up with our recipes? And for me, very quickly, not difficult. It was fun. I'd never done a culinary before, so it was a good challenge to find the recipe and then to make sure that it actually worked. So not difficult. What about you guys?
For me, jollof rice, I've been cooking jollof rice for as long as I know, but I just wanted to add, it was always hit and miss for me when it was cooking jollof rice. So I wanted to create something that I could follow through. So I decided to document my cooking. So follow its process step by step. And the funniest thing was that a Mystery Lovers Kitchen wanted, it's a site for cozy mystery authors with cooking, with lots of recipes. Please check it out. Go look at Mystery Lovers Kitchen. It's full of recipes from mystery writers. And I did a blog. So I was forced. And I bake cakes, so I know how to do measurements and everything. But with jollof rice, you just throw things in. You don't measure anything. I was forced to actually follow the process, take pictures and everything. So yes, it was a sweaty process, trying to do it step by step. But in the end, I was quite happy with what came out. And I hope people that use the recipe, will feel the same way. How about you, Barbara?
For me, it was finding a family recipe that was not included in any of my previous little cookbooks out there. I wanted something that was going to be like super simple and short because my short story kept growing and growing and growing and growing. We had a word limit and I blew past the word limit. So I wanted a short recipe to kind of make up for the fact that I had gone beyond the word limit on my story. And I wanted it to be something that could match what was going on with Chelsea Parker and her party, And because pink is her favorite color, I looked in my little box of all these recipes and I found something pink and simple. So that's where Pink Kisses came from, and something that I knew that would be, I don't know, easy enough if someone wasn't really into baking or cooking. It would be something that they could easily create themselves.
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome. Like I said, I'm actually really looking forward to trying the recipe. Carol's cake, oh my God. I can't wait. I can't wait to try the cake. I like baking, so I can't wait to try the recipes.
You have to really like baking in order to do that. It's quite an elaborate recipe.
Seriously, Carolyn, I actually decorate cakes and bake all sorts of recipes.
So there you go.
So I'm going to do that recipe and I'll show it to you when I do it. Seriously.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
So I want to say thank you so much for joining us all. We have come to 9 o'clock. Well, 9 o'clock my time, 4 p.m. Eastern time, and we've come to the end of the show. I don't know if anybody else has anything to say, but I say thank you so much for joining us. I'm like I said, I'm blessed to be part of Crime Writers of Color and part of this group that have put together this anthology. And shout out to, and please do not play. I'm going to try and shout out to the 4 other authors. If I miss one name out, let me know. Shout out to Francelia, to Rhoda. Who else? See, my brain has gone blank.
Angela,
Rhoda, Angela, Mala. Shout out to the 4 other authors with their amazing stories. Thank you so much. It's been a fantastic collaboration. It's been a fantastic, I don't even want to call it collaboration. It's just been amazing coming together the way we've come together. I love it and I hope that we continue. So thank you so much for joining us. I don't know if Carolyn or Barbara, do you have any more last words before we finish?
Thank you for coming, everybody. And do check out the book. That's the main thing, Festive Mayhem 2. Marla dropped the link in Facebook and you can find it on Amazon, Festive Mayhem 2. Super fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. It was nice meeting you all online, and hopefully we'll do this again.
Bye-bye all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Going to attempt to end the live.
Mayhem 2. Marla dropped the link in Facebook and you can find it on Amazon, Festive Mayhem 2. Super fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. It was nice meeting you all online, and hopefully we'll do this again.
I'm trying to see.
Bye.
I'll to end the live. and I'll still try to attempt. I'm still trying to attempt to end the live. Hold on. We're still live on Facebook. Let me see.